So, what if I told you there's a blueprint for your life, like a code that was written the very second you were born? Well, we're about to dive into an ancient Chinese system that claims to do just that, read that code. It's called Bazi, and it's this really profound way of looking at destiny. And to get a sense of just how deep this idea runs in Chinese thought, look no further than Confucius. He said this. And this really tells you it's not just about, simple fortune telling. For thousands of years, understanding your Ming, your destiny, was seen as a fundamental part of being a wise and well-rounded person. Which, of course, brings us to the big question, right? The one that's on everyone's mind and the whole reason systems like Bazi even exist. Can we really know our destiny? Is it actually possible to peek into the future and understand the patterns of our own lives? Well, that's the big quest we're on today. Okay, so let's start right there with this quest for destiny. And this isn't some new age thing, This is a journey that goes back thousands of years, all driven by that really human need to find some kind of order in the chaos of life. For millennia, we've been looking for answers, haven't we? Looking up at the stars, watching the seasons change, creating these complex rituals, all just to try and get a handle on what's coming next. And Bazu, well, it's a huge part of that ancient, ongoing story, that search for some kind of map for our lives. So where did this all start? The roots of Bazi go way, way back to some of China's most ancient practices for trying to read the cosmic clues and figure out what the universe had in store. Okay, so long before you get to the four-pillar system that we talk about today, you had other methods. You had the famous I Ching, the Book of Changes. Go back even further to the Shang dynasty, and you have priests reading the cracks in oracle bones. But the really crucial piece of the puzzle, the thing that would become the foundation for everything, was a way they developed to record time, known as the stems and branches. And this system, the Ganji, is absolutely key. The best way to think about it is like a giant cosmic clock. It's built from two sets of symbols, 10 heavenly stems and 12 earthly branches. When you combine them, they create this repeating cycle of 60 unique pairs. And this cycle, this wasn't just for telling time. It became the fundamental language for mapping everything, including, eventually, a person's life. So they had this amazing cosmic clock. But it took a long, long time, we're talking centuries, for it to go from just keeping time to becoming this incredibly complex art of analyzing destiny. So let's see how the four pillars actually came to be. And the evolution is actually pretty cool. It all started out really simple, back in the Han Dynasty. Masters would just look at the Ganji, that stem and branch pair, of your birth year. That was it. But then, fast forward to the Tang Dynasty, and a guy named Li Shuzong starts adding more layers. The real game changer, though, was Shu Zipping. He's the one who basically created the foundation for the modern system. And by the Ming Dynasty, the whole thing was written down in these classic books that people still study, right now. So here's the key takeaway. The system got bigger and more detailed. It went from just looking at the year to adding the month, then the day, and finally, the exact hour you were born. Each of those is a pillar. And each pillar has its own Ganji pair. That's a stem and a branch, 2 characters. So you've got 4 pillars, 2 characters each. Do the math, that's 8 characters. And in Chinese, that's Bazi. And that's literally where the name comes from. Okay, so that's the history. But what does it look like today? Well, like a lot of these ancient practices, it's not like there's just one single way to do it. Over the years, Bazi split into different schools of thought, and they don't always agree. Basically, you can break it down into 2 main approaches today. On one hand, you have the more traditional method. It's a bit broader, and it pulls in all these older ideas like Shensha, which are kind of like symbolic stars. This method is often used for stuff like feng shui or picking a good date for a wedding. Then, on the other hand, you have the zipping method. This one is way more focused. It's pretty much all about those 8 characters and how they interact to analyze your destiny. It's known for being faster and more direct. But here's the thing. That speed and simplicity might come at a cost. At least that's what the traditionalists would say. The big critique of the modern zipping method is that by getting rid of all those older, more complicated parts, you might actually be losing some of the real depth, some of the original philosophy that the ancient masters intended. Okay, and this next part is, I think, the most important point of all. We have to ask, what's the ultimate goal here? Is it really just about figuring out if you're going to be rich or famous? The philosophy behind Bazi says, no, there's something much, much deeper going on. See, the real goal isn't just to predict your future like it's some movie you can't change. It's actually about understanding the unique energies and patterns you were born with, your personal factory settings, if you will. And then the idea is to learn how to work with them, to live in harmony with them, so you can navigate the river of life a little more smoothly. There's actually a really powerful analogy that makes this super clear. Think of your Bazi chart like a doctor's diagnosis. It tells you about your fundamental constitution, your strengths, your weaknesses. But just knowing the diagnosis doesn't make you better, right? You need a prescription. In this philosophy, the prescription is Taoist wisdom, the teachings of Laozi and Zhuangzi. And the cure? That's you actually applying that wisdom to your life to sync up with the natural flow of the universe, the Tao, and hopefully reduce some of that friction and struggle. So at the end of the day, Bazi isn't really a fortune-telling machine. It's a tool for self-cultivation. It's like getting your own personal cosmic weather report. Once you understand the patterns, the winds and the currents of your own life, you can learn how to sail with them instead of always trying to sail against them. It's really all about finding that path to harmony. So after all this ancient practice leaves us with a really big question, and it's for you to think about. If you could read the blueprint of your own life, what would you do with it? Would you let it define you, or would it empower you to become the architect of your future? Is destiny just something we read, or is it something we help write? And that's both the challenge and the real opportunity of Bazi.